Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar in which we'll take you through some of the key findings of the inaugural CCIQ Queensland Digital Readiness Study. My name's James Flaherty and I'm your facilitator for today. Alongside me I have Corey Banks who will present the bulk of the findings. Corey is a senior consultant with CCIQ's research partner on this project, Glentworth. Corey works on a daily basis with businesses across Queensland and has helped shape digital and information strategies for organisations large and small across Australia and in the UK. First, some tips to ensure you get the best out of the next half hour. The presentation will last approximately 25 minutes and we'll have a Q&A at the end of the presentation. So please send your questions through at any time and we'll answer as many as we can. To send a question, simply enter it into the text box on your screen. We'll collate them all and we'll answer them as we go. I'll now take you through a short overview of the digital economy and why CCIQ and Glentworth came to undertake this study. First things first, the digital economy is big. It's worth a staggering $189 billion. I'll just repeat that because it is quite astounding. $189 billion is out there and available for businesses as consumers and businesses interact digitally within Australia. We have 11 million mobile internet subscribers in Australia. That's almost 1 in 2 of us. 6.2 million homes connect to the digital world by a broadband connection, bringing them fast, high-speed internet services directly into their homes. Whichever way you cut the data, consumers are consuming, businesses are building, and appetites are ever increasing. And it's only going to grow. For example, the NBN will be delivered across the next 8 years in a $43 billion project. It's a project that will deliver speeds of 100 megabits per second to homes and businesses across Australia, delivering data, opportunities and potential and access to resources like we've never had before. Digital sales continue to grow. We saw a 32% increase in sales online between 2010 and 2011. So at the end of the day, the digital economy is not an IT issue. It's not even a technology issue. It's a whole of business issue. And businesses that don't embrace the digital economy will find trading to be even more difficult over the coming years. The digital economy is changing the way we work, it's changing the way we interact, and it's fundamentally changing the way in which we do business. So we wanted to find out what this means for businesses across Queensland. What are the opportunities? Where can businesses improve their revenue, their productivity, and their services through newly emerging channels and technologies? So we created the first Queensland Digital Readiness Study. I'll now hand you over to Corey, who will take you through the findings.
Thanks, James, and welcome everyone out there, hopefully having some lunch while listening in to this webinar. What we're going to do today is take you through some of the details that came out of the study. We're mainly focused on trying to identify how a Queensland business is adapting to and leveraging the benefits of the digital economy. We'll give a bit of a definition as to what the digital economy is. We'll have a look at some of the key findings and outline some next steps as to how you can learn more about the potential of this. So our friends at the Department of Broadband Communication and the Digital Economy given us a definition. Mainly here we're looking at the economic and social activities enabled by the internet, allowing people to trade and people to share. So the study was undertaken. We sent out some invitations and had just around 700 businesses participate. A quarter of those were from micro businesses of 1 to 5 staff and just over a quarter from mid-sized organisations. Geographically we had people from Port Douglas to Roma, Mount Isa to Springbrook participate and give us their ideas around where they're at and what's possible. We've got a link there at the bottom of the page linking you through to the full study, and also there's a map geographically outlining some of the statistics that's available. Some of the key figures we've pulled out for you that we'll talk about today. 88.7% of businesses having a website. We've got there a mobile version of the website, only 24% of participants. 53.1% advertising online, and 61.4% of the businesses that participated in the survey utilising social media. The primary use of the websites that came through was for marketing and communication with clients, and by far the most popular platform that was talked about from a social media perspective was Facebook, with nearly 90% of people saying that they're on there. Some interesting other facts that we pulled out: nearly 68% don't have a digital marketing plan. 67% of responses said that they realise less than 10% of revenue through internet sales, and 61.5% of people said that a lack of knowledge and understanding is the biggest barrier for digital business for them. Where we found high maturity in using the digital business were in areas around education and training, financial insurance services, information media and technology services. We found low maturity in the manufacturing, construction, healthcare, retail, trade and transport areas. So what we'll go through is looking at 6 areas here around strategic planning, e-commerce and online purchasing, the mobile area, the cloud, social media, and then some specific barriers and enablers that have been experienced. So an interesting conundrum we found in the strategic planning space was that 53.1% of businesses were advertising online, yet 67.9% didn't have a plan as to what they were doing with their digital marketing. So digital marketing should form a part of the overall marketing plan for organisations. They should also align with your business plan. The plan can help provide direction and give you an indication of what investment is required and what success will look like, allowing you to calculate your ROI. The plan should also bring together traditional promotional activities in the real world with digital campaigns in an integrated fashion. Online purchasing, nearly 2/3 of organisations saying that less than 10% of their revenue was coming from internet sales. We saw some of the figures early on in the presentation, with businesses in Australia receiving a proportion of orders online 2009 to 10 around the 13% mark. That jumped to 28% in 2010-11. Online sales moving from 143 billion in 2009-10 to 189 billion in 2010-11, with a 32% increase, and that's only gotten more. People saying the use of their website primarily around communications with clients and marketing, less than 20% identifying it as a sales channel for themselves to go to market. Some of those people responded with saying that the products they provide aren't suitable to be sold online, others saying that their market and the clients that they have won't utilise an online channel. So the question that can come up there is, well, there are many people out there who do have confidence in buying online. Can they become your customers? We have a look in the mobile space. It's growing exponentially, as we mentioned, 11 million mobile internet subscribers in Australia, and it's estimated at the end of 2013 there'll be more mobile devices on the planet than people. So a fantastic growth in this space with the use of mobile phones and tablets. Yet only 24% of respondents said that they have a mobile version of their website. Yet 47% of internet connections in Australia are through a mobile device. The challenges we face in this space is that websites resolve quite differently on a mobile phone browser than what they do from a desktop PC. One way to find out that if the people that are visiting your site are using smartphones and tablets is that every time someone visits your site, people are in there, then the web server is actually recording what version of a browser they're using. So using some log file analysis, or some people are using Google Analytics, you can identify the proportion of visitors that are using your site through a mobile device. Another thing in here is to look at testing your site. So a lot of people have created websites and published them out there, but haven't necessarily looked at how they resolve on a mobile device. Make sure you have a look at it through an Apple and Android phones. Also, this is an opportunity perhaps to engage with your clients and ask them for some feedback and say, okay, how would you like to see this? Should we actually look at producing a mobile version of the site? Most of the recent website tools will produce a mobile version of your site, so have a chat to your provider, see what you can come up with. The cloud's been talked about for, I suppose, quite a while now, but it's now coming to fruition with people offering software as a service and even infrastructure as a service online now. The need to have your own server on premises, either tucked away in a back room or underneath a desk, is becoming less and less. There are now more secure, cheaper and reliable options available, hosted in purpose-built environments across the country. There are some challenges globally with around where you can store data and information, but in this day and age there's offers available here to store it locally within Australia. What we found from the survey was that the use of cloud-based services, approximately 65% of people are using it for email, 53% are using it for storage using tools like Dropbox and Box, for file sharing, software as a service just over the 33% mark, and infrastructure as a service just over 15%. Use of these cloud services can reduce risks posed by natural disasters and particularly around aging equipment failures. 61.4% using social media. Most popular platform out there is Facebook, and really when we look at it, there's nearly 12 million Australians registered as Facebook users at this point in time, and that is growing. People are primarily using social media for communication with clients and marketing and PR, but we also identified some of the reasons that people aren't using social media. So just over 40% of people saying that it wasn't relative to their customers, and around 35% saying that they just don't have the time and resources to commit to setting up and maintaining a social media presence. As we mentioned before, with websites and those people who are purchasing online, are those people who are using these social media tools able to become customers? One of the trends that's currently taking place is what's called content marketing. So in this particular instance, an example would be, for example, what we have, Red Bull out there at the moment with the stratosphere project that they ran. Some guy getting up in a balloon into the stratosphere, jumping out. There was no actual specific view of someone drinking the product or consuming the product, yet the brand was all over it. And that thing got massive television coverage, as most of you would have seen, globally, which the organisation, Red Bull, basically got a lot of free advertising out of that. So you'll find this particularly on YouTube at the moment, where people are on there telling stories about their products, telling stories about the services they offer, either through themselves or their clients, putting this content up there, and it is getting attention. One of the particular facets around YouTube is it's the second biggest search engine to Google globally. So having your content on there, either having a channel or getting some pictures up there. This morning I was on there just looking, and for example there's a sewing shop up in Cairns who are out there posting onto YouTube through recording the video on their mobile phone, showing people how to sew a particular type of blanket. So they're showing people how to use the products that they're selling, and people are interested in that and learning from it, and indirectly knowing and identifying that person as someone that they may want to purchase from. So some of the barriers and enablers that we were able to draw out of the statistics, as we mentioned before, 61.5% of people are saying the lack of knowledge and understanding is the biggest barrier that they face. Judging the cost and benefit coming in at second, the speed of the internet and where they're located coming in third, information security concerns next, and then the lack of time and resources coming in later on. We then asked also, how do you feel is the best way to engage to learn more about digital business? And as we can see there on the right-hand side, 61.7% saying that well, they're looking for information and training sessions, online resources, and greater awareness of promotion, what's going on. Only 1.3% saying that they needed greater access to relevant professionals. One of the things we did also engage people with was around the NBN. And a majority of people were saying, yes, it's a good investment, it's worthwhile, we need to be doing this. However, most people didn't know when it was being rolled out to their region and aren't confident in the fact that it allowed to be delivered on time. So there's a few things we can do right now to position yourself and taking advantage of this, some simple stuff. One is to get a plan in place. Have a look at who your clients are, where they are, and how can you be contacting and working with them online. I'd ask you to check how your website looks on a mobile phone and have a look at what you might need to do to improve that. Make sure you're integrating your traditional marketing and promotion activities with complementary online and social techniques. So in that sort of space, if you are doing letter drops and flyers, brochures, other types of activities, how can you complement that in an online fashion? What's more, you also learn more about what you can do from a digital business. CCIQ has a digital learning program coming up shortly. Another interesting fact that came out of this was people are quite optimistic about it. So either very or quite optimistic, a vast majority of people, not too many people see this digital economy as a bad thing. Okay, James, we'll pass it over to you and see what sort of questions we've got.
People wouldn't use their mobile phones to browse the internet was the comment you'd often hear. It's really shifted very quickly in the last couple of years. So I guess get that mobile site up and running and use it to help drive your business. If they can ally that to a plan and the smart use of cloud technologies, then the opportunities ahead I think probably bear in mind the bright outlook businesses have told us they have. So we'll take some initial questions from the floor. The first question that came in, Corey, is where can businesses find out more about the NBN?
So the NBN has a website, nbnco.com.au, so that's nbnco.com.au, and they actually have even some geographical tools on there where you can put in your location and see where the rollout's taking place. There's a particular focus at the moment around the next 3 years. So they have a 1-year window, a 3-year window, and a 5-year window that they're working towards. Most of the current engagements around the NBN are actually with new developments. So it's new pieces of infrastructure that are being put in, embedding the NBN in that with new residential developments, particularly in high-density housing and those sorts of things.
Fantastic. Thanks, Corey. Second question we've had in is around social media and really trying to determine what's the best tool for a business to use socially.
So it all depends. Particularly with this one, it depends on where the target market that you're looking for is actually residing. As we've said, Facebook is pretty common, very common out there at the moment, but it's not necessarily common for people to be on there shopping. So they are on there sharing content. They're in there with their mates. They're in there with family and friends. There's some interesting myths that have surfaced around the use of Facebook. So, for example, you may have seen around the place people saying that the highest rate of uptake is actually in the 45 to 55-year-old ladies. It is the highest rate of uptake, but that's still only 10% of the users. Most of the users are within their teens and their 20s and 30s, so the Gen Ys and the Gen Xs out there. That's where that market is. Facebook's very interesting because they can be extremely targeted in where they can offer you to advertise. So they have a lot of information that they collect on people. They know their geography, they know their age, they know what they like. And therefore you can be quite targeted and specific about any investment you make in advertising in that particular space. But for more of it, it's asking, it's getting out there and finding out what is your demographic, where are they, and then going to them. So if they're on there using, Pinterest is another one that's rising at the moment, and particularly retailers finding that if they put a tweet message out there about a particular deal. If they take that exact same message and combine it with a picture and put it on Pinterest, there's a 3 times more chance of converting that to a sale in using the Pinterest platform than just using Twitter on its own.
Excellent, thanks. I guess it's that age-old question of if you know your audience and you know where to connect with them, choosing the channel is a fairly logical exercise in the end. We've had a question in around the NBN. Obviously, we're promised 100 megabits a second, but will that actually cope with the increasing number of users, particularly using smartphones and tablets?
Yeah, there's interesting parts as to how the whole network is going to fit together. So you would have heard people talking about fibre to node and fibre to house, or then with wireless being connected on some of those endpoints. The capacity of the wireless network, particularly with the 4G rollout, is going to increase, and that rollout's taking place. Telstra's leading in that space at the moment, but the other providers are coming on board and rolling out more 4G access. So from a bandwidth perspective in the mobile sector, the NBN is not necessarily going to get affected by that. When we start looking at 10 megabits per second, the main benefit is going to be coming from physical location. So if you're working in an office, if you're working from home, if you're working and logging in through a surface connection, then you will see a lot of change there. Particularly, we can look at the uptake around video. There's some of the things that have been talked about, particularly in the medical sector, about being able to do some consultations online. The other part that's also coming through with that is the use of sensors. So one of the things, the massive increase that is going to take place with the uptake of content online is in that video sector. But the other one is saying that we're going to have a variety of sensors out there. So on your mobile phone, for example, it doesn't just work as a phone, it knows where you are. So it's got GPS in it. So there's that sort of information that can be transferred. We can look at, it also knows what angle you're holding the phone at, so the tilt, it knows the velocity the phone is traveling at through accelerometers. So there's a variety of different sensors in a phone. If you can then put those in different things like vehicles, like on buildings, like on products, a variety of different sensors sending that information, which again will start requiring more bandwidth to be put through, but we can be more intelligent then about what we're using. From a capacity perspective, it's not going to be looking at peaking out anytime soon.
Fantastic. One of the, I guess, the age-old questions around IT is, it's great, I'm a small business owner, but I don't have the IT resources available to me, so how do I go about engaging with the digital economy?
What's really interesting about this is, I suppose, that there's a few misconceptions out there around, hold on, this is quite complicated, I might need an IT degree or I might need to go and study to actually learn about this stuff. We've made tremendous advances, particularly since the dot-com era, in making things available at a very low level. So what I'm talking about there is that the barrier to entry is quite small. At the moment, if you want to publish online, you can do it for free. All you need is an email address. You can sign up for a service and you can be publishing straight away. 15 years ago, you needed to have specific tools, specific accounts, specific products to be able to do that. So being able to get online right now, set up a website, and even to offer an e-commerce function can be done for tens of dollars. It doesn't take that much to do. It is a matter of learning as to what you need to plug into what and what needs to be configured, but it's all becoming much easier to use. People are setting up platforms like WordPress as an example, as a content management system that you can set up a website, you can register the domain name through them, it can all be there. You can plug in an e-commerce channel, set up a PayPal account, and basically you're able to trade online straight away. In the past, that has required perhaps some investment in getting some specialist skills around to be able to build those sorts of things for you. It's becoming more and more the fact that you can just get this stuff off the shelf, and more the fact that you can use stuff that's free without actually having to do a big cash outlay. What that allows you to do, though, is it allows you to experiment. So you might want to set up a shop and say, right, well, let's just run this for a couple of months and see how it is. And the cash outlay to do that is quite low. What's also good is you haven't invested in some massive hardware, you haven't invested in some software, so you can actually switch it off and say, yep, we tried that, it wasn't successful, let's go and try something else.
I guess it's like anything. Is it a case then, Corey, of know your customers, choose your channel, and build accordingly so you're not overexposing yourselves in trying to do too many things across too many areas?
Yeah. It's nothing new. It's merely a different way of doing it. So traditional marketing, traditional customer relationship management, all those sort of things ring true. Know your customer, know your market, know the product, know what it's the niche that it's filling. It's merely a slightly different way of doing it online than what you would do through a retail outlet.
Great. Thanks, Corey. Next question is regarding the businesses that took part in the survey. Were they mostly Brisbane-based or more regional?
We found that participation did follow with the major population centres, but the interesting thing is relate to the geographical region. So within Brisbane, for example, we did have a larger proportion of people attending or participating from Brisbane, but we found that there's a full spectrum of maturity there. So there are people in Brisbane working in the same suburb that are finding it very difficult and very hard to deal with it, let alone someone just down the road who's finding it very easy to get involved and do what they need to do in a digital space. So we did get good geographic spread, which you'll be able to see on the map that's available on the website. I suppose the challenge we've got is it did follow where the population is.
Yeah, and I think if you head to cciq.com.au/technology, you can choose the digital readiness link from there and actually then go in and view the map. And that basically attributes a digital readiness score to each one of the businesses who responded, so you can see the geographical spread. I think from a survey perspective, we're happy with the balance of responders, and then it does give a true picture of the mix across Queensland. On to our next question. Can we give an idea around the variation between the sectors, such as construction, agriculture? So essentially, what was the industry sector splits of the survey responders?
We had pretty even representation across it. The major, I'm just looking at the report here itself, the major area was manufacturing, with about 15% of respondents within that sector. Everything else was pretty consistent. Arts and recreation services was down around the 2%, so it was at the bottom end there. We're currently going through the data and trying to break it out and see if there are any patterns around different and specific industry sectors. We've done that geographically and haven't found anything in there that shows a major difference between geographies. But now the next stage is, we are pulling it apart by our industry sector, and hopefully we'll be able to report back on any findings we have in that space later on.
Thanks, Corey. I think to add to that point, this is the first study that we've undertaken. The plan will be roughly every October or November, we will repeat the study so we can build a long-term tracking model of how Queensland businesses are interacting with the digital economy. And if we do that, we can factor in how things like the NBN change the way we trade, how technologies as they emerge and platforms as they emerge strike a different balance between the responses. But I think, again, it's the splits in data, they're all available on in the report, but again, we're extremely happy with the level we got and feel that is representative of the business community at large. We've got a question in around use of social media in order to reach customers from I guess it's a predominantly business-to-business provider, a fuel storage tank to business. What I'd suggest we do, if you're happy with that, Corey, is if we take that one offline and maybe send through a couple of tips through to the attendee after the webinar. Thank you, everyone, for sending through your questions. We had some really good insights there. One question that keeps coming through is you've taken out a study. What happens next? I guess really what we're trying to do from this is we've found the study, we've identified some gaps, and we've identified some areas in which I think all businesses can learn from the experts out there in the technology industry. So what we're going to try and do is build a series around digital learning. It'll be launched in the next few weeks. We're just finalizing the content stream at the moment, and it'll essentially be a series of 10 webinars across a range of digital topics which will cover everything from social media through to how you go about getting your business mobile. They're intended really as the groundwork to cover each of those topics. They'll provide you with tips on what you can do, what you should do, what you can think about, and also where you can learn more and where you can go to find out more about the tools that are available. The series will be free to CCIQ members, and it will be launched through our events newsletter and via cciq.com.au/events. In addition, on Monday, we'll also be launching a series of regional roadshows, each of which will contain a 2-hour masterclass run by CCIQ and Glentworth, which will really build on the top 5 digital opportunities out there for small and medium businesses. They'll be launched on Monday, so again, check your emails and visit cciq.com.au/events to find out more. Obviously, we'd encourage you all to become CCIQ members, and in all things digital, we're currently running a Facebook promotion. Today's the last day of our Facebook February promotion, where you can save 15% off CCIQ membership by liking CCIQ's Facebook page and claiming the offer that's on the page. So we'd encourage you all to go and have a look and join. If you're not ready to join, at least you can go on and see a Facebook promotion live in action. Look at the coupons, look at the techniques that are available there, and maybe start to use that sort of technique for your business as a result of today's webinar. I guess one thing to remember is, obviously, if you do take out membership as part of Facebook February, you will get access free of charge to the digital learning series. So thank you again for attending today's webinar. If you've got any further questions around the Digital Readiness Study or CCIQ, please don't hesitate to connect with us through one of our channels. We're on all the usual suspects such as Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Following on from the webinar today, we'll send you all an email this afternoon containing links to a copy of the webinar and to the Digital Readiness Study and map. So thanks again for attending. Don't forget to check out cciq.com.au/events for future webinars, and particularly for information around the upcoming digital learning series and the regional roadshows.